Happy Memorial Day. We are here. I'm going to spend about an hour doing some coding stuff. I've actually been coding off and on this weekend. I just haven't streamed every bit of it. Sometimes it's just easier for me to think when I don't have an audience. You know, I'm not like trying to entertain people. I try to do the coding live so you can see me fumble and stumble and make mistakes and whatever not, but sometimes I just want to just separate myself from the audience and just try 100 different things in a few minutes, and you know, never know. That irritating noise is the blender. She's making smoothies. Anyway, that said, the last time we were here, we were looking at the state machine, and my biggest complaint with the way the controls are set up in Unreal I'm going to go through these. So each, just kind of running through again. So for example, I'll just kind of go up to here. Okay, so for my key down, for example, just to kind of like recap, we have the started, we have ongoing, and completed. So started is when the way that I have it set up is started is when the key is pressed, completed is going to be when it's released, and then ongoing is while it is continuing to be pressed, while it's being held. And if the key is set up to be pressed, when you press it, the started event happens, and then the triggered event gets called. And when that is finished, when you let go of it, the completed happens. And of course, ongoing happens in between there. Took a while to kind of really hammer those out. But those keybinds, the way they're sort of encapsulated, make it a bit weird to work with. So like in Unity or in GameMaker, or really if you're just writing your own keyboard key polling system, it's really just if this key is being interacted with, then do something. If I'm doing this straight up in C, the logic behind it gives me a feedback of an impulse feedback. So I can get the signal, I can get the intensity, like if you're holding the button down really hard or just subtly, I can get the signal input off of that. There isn't really a key pressed, key down, key up thing. You have to kind of write those manually, so I would do them as bools and I would flip them, which I thought was way more convenient because I had direct access to the keyboard. But I guess I could do that here, but I have the engine, so the engine's supposed to be handling input-output for me anyway. Anyway, that said, I was doing an experiment with this particular setup to try to see if I could get the keys to work, or the key presses to work with the way the state machine was working. So I had it set so that if you hit the key, so like on started, it would check your state and then do a thing. On completed, it would do the other thing. So for example, crouching on the started and then uncrouching on completed, and then ongoing would handle a certain thing, and so on. But I was finding in the previous video, because I try to plan ahead how this is going to work, further down the line, and it just didn't seem like it was very scalable. And I complained about that in the last video, that by having the keys separated like that, I have to check each condition of the key, whether it's pressed, released, or held, and check the state within each condition of each key, and then check against other states that could be happening while those keys are down. But because they're all their own encapsulated thing, that's a lot of management jumping between these different functions, crossing data, and that it's just not a very pleasant system to work with. Like I don't see it being very scalable. As this becomes more and more complex, like if I want to have a combo system that's kind of like, so we have the Metroidvania style, right? If it was just a Metroidvania, it would be very simple. You have left, right, and then you're crouching if you have it, and then jumping if you have it, right? But no, I want Metroidvania with Dragon Ball FighterZ, basically. I want to have that snappy fighting kind of action with the fluidity of a Metroidvania. So I'm like trying to blend those things together. So I need this to be scalable. I need to be able to have the inputs and the state machine mapped in a way that I can quickly enter a state, I can check it, cancel it, and those sort of things, but I want to do it in code versus using the drag and drop editor. So anyway, this is what was going on there. So you can see here, for example, on double tap, like there's a whole instance for a double tap button. Like why? Why do I have to do this? So instead I ended up stripping a lot of that out and just making the keybinds for left, right, up, and down, and then your action events, like your primary action, secondary action, blocking, and that sort of thing. Those are their own thing. So for example, so here's up. The way that I have this going is if on the start, of course I check to see if the player's available. If the player's not available, then we don't do anything. Otherwise, you might crash it if it tries to pull something from the player. However, I probably don't need to do this here anymore since I am no longer modifying player data on this keybind. All I'm doing on the keybind itself is, or on the event itself, is marking that it is pressed. And I'm going to grab this bool. I'm also doing a double tap or a tap count, and I'm marking that. And then on the completed, I am releasing the key, and if the key was held, I'm also releasing the held portion of that. Pressed and held fire at different moments, so the bools for those, they can be concurrent, but they do happen at different times. So I want to be able to check those separately. And then for ongoing, right now nothing's really happening in ongoing. I was going to use the ongoing state of the key as a way of checking for tick events, because this is so the paradigm on event-driven systems. So this is, if you've ever written code the old way, right? You had a main program, and it was procedurally done. So everything had to run through main. Every function, every operation ran through main, and main ran on a loop. Usually inside of main there was a while system is running, and then there would be a loop inside there and it would maintain that. So the shift has been trying to move far away from main so that people don't have to deal with main, and instead you have event listeners that are waiting for, they're basically callback functions. They're waiting for a function to execute and then give a response that it has completed, and then that's being checked. So that, under the hood, that still is all running through main. We just don't see it anymore. But the general paradigm is that everything's on an event instead of on a tick, even though realistically everything's on tick. You just don't see it. So ongoing runs basically as a tick event. So if I had to hold a key down, I could have ongoing be the thing that checks it. long path to get to something simple. It's just how I work. Anyway, so I stripped a lot of the functionality of those out and just have these checks here. So like here, instead of like here, I left myself a note that I was using this as the tick event. So here's left, for example, so left ongoing, and then inside of left I was checking to see if we were currently in the walking state, and if we were in the walking state then we would do an exit, or we would check if we were in starting walking, or whatever. But again, this wasn't very scalable. I was running into constant headaches of, well, how do I get this to correspond with that if I'm holding this key? And then you saw in the last video that if I were walking and then I went and then I'm holding right on the keypad and then I hit down to go into my crouching state, it would continue to walk. It wouldn't go into crouch. Like because those keys are, the events of those things are not mutually exclusive, I guess. It was causing a headache. So again, I went and stripped a bunch of this stuff out, and I was like, you know what? And I complained in the last video. I was like, if I were doing it this way, this is how I would do it. So finally, I just said, you know what? I'm just going to do it that way. So I went ahead and just made a check input function here. So here's my check input. Same kind of deal. We first check if the player's available because I have to modify player states. And then I went ahead and did this. So, for example, I've got each condition that I can map to. So, for example, if I'm idle and I want to turn, so it checks my current state, my current direction, and then the key that I'm dealing with. So if this bool has been ticked, so all those keybinds, all I'm doing is I'm checking those bools, and then I'm checking this thing on tick. So if it checks it, then it sets the correct state. If it's the other way, it sets the other state. Now some of these can be simplified, and I'll scroll down to like here on crouch, because it doesn't always care what direction you're facing, right? We can get the player's current direction and pass that in. The only time I really care about the direction being updated is if I hit a button that changes direction. So left or right would change my direction. So in those events, if I have to hit left or right, then I can check and make sure that I'm passing in the correct direction for those. But on this one, the down key doesn't care about left or right. It just needs to get the current direction, so I just pass those in. And then there's uncrouch, and so on. And then if I want to go back to idle, I'm just checking to see all of the things that are not being pressed. And this is a little bit more manageable, so as I get further down the line, to add my attacking keys, I can just add this into here. And this works just the same, and actually this is a lot cleaner than trying to jump in between the different keybinds. Like, I don't know why they went to this new system. It's just kind of annoying. There are some things that are convenient about it, that it has built-in timings. Again, if you hit a key, there's a system check that has a timer in there that tells you how long the key's been pressed or whatever those are. But I usually write those manually anyway because I don't trust the system. So, but here we go. So we're in, and it works the same. So I can walk, and in fact, this is a lot smoother because I can transition directly into the next state without the keys, getting in the way. This works just fine. And then I can crouch. Now, I did not fix this part. This is kind of fun. But I can go into the crouching state while holding forward, because those are two separate events. So the only thing I have to check here is just to make sure that I tell him he's not allowed to move while he's in crouch. But at some point I will have crouch walking, so I don't know if I want to do that just yet. But not all Metroidvanias have crouch walking. So Super Metroid does. You turn to a ball, you're basically crouched and you're walking. Castlevania does not. You're crouched or you're walking. You can't do both. Hollow Knight, you can't. You don't have crouch walk, and I don't think you can crouch walk in Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I don't think you can crouch walk there. So I may just not have crouch walking, because I do have a move where he's gonna slide, kind of like. A good example would be Min Min from Smash Bros. She has a slide that moves her forward. That's kind of slide is what I'm thinking of for this. This whole coughing thing is for the birds. But yeah, this system is a lot nicer. I need to add in some other movements, but this is so much easier to execute. Although I don't have a standing turn. I have if I'm already technically moving and then turning. And then I gotta fix the transitions here. So you can see it kind of pops at the end. But that's just because I don't have a transition from finishing turn back into idle. He just kind of goes and then pops into that step and then pops out. So I should have a situation to check, because right now what's happening if I do this, after I turn, the transition state is to go back into walking, but I need to adjust the transition so that it checks whether or not we're currently in motion, and if we are in motion, then we would transition into walking. If not, then we have a way to transition back to idle. So I just need to set up a condition for that. But this is so much smoother. Anyway. Yeah. Another thing I want to check is, you can see how Selden, if I take the mouse here, where his head is relative to the capsule. And if I turn the other way, you can see his head is quite a bit out of the capsule. So I need to see why that's happening. My guess is that when I did the reverse of the animation, that kind of like when we were doing the reverse in the last video, I noticed that the x-axis position was not getting flipped correctly. I think that might be the case here. I think that the way that he stands on this one has him slightly that way. But I can check that while I'm here. So we go in and just fly out. So he looks like he's centered pretty well in the capsule here. And let me flip this way. Yeah, so he is definitely forward some on there. So I just have to go through and see why that's the case. I think he might actually be forward on the blueprint. Characters. Guess we'll open the full blueprint and take a closer peek. Is that 0.4 units forward? 4.0. So yeah, so the issue is here. Hold on, do I have this set in code? I just want to make sure. The child will always override the parent, so I just want to make sure that I don't have that manually set here. No, I don't have that set. So if I set this to 0, that would put him here. So let's see how that looks. And then if I move him here. Yeah. So that was the issue. He was 0.4, or he was minus 4 units in one direction. So that was a simple fix. The rest of those I think is fine. Alright, let's open up Maya, I guess. Maya. Might have enough time to there we go. Might have just enough time to do the jumping animation. We have some guests coming over for Memorial Day. It is today, right? Yeah, September 1st. Alright, so we'll take the crouching animation for left. Oh, one other thing I want to consider is the speed of that turn. Like, is that too slow? Like, I think that should be a bit faster. Like, I don't have to, it doesn't have to be a whole half second, or 1/1000 to 1. Yeah, that's a full second. That's a whole second that I'm pinned and I can't move. Let me see if I can speed that up here. One thing that you shouldn't do, though, where's my turn, is modify your rate scale, because let me do 0.25. Look at that, that's a really slow animation. Let's see how that goes whenever I turn. Where's the other list? That's turn. Get both turns here. So the documentation says that you shouldn't modify the scale because the systems that are checking the speed of your scale or of your timeline do it based off of a scale of 1. So there's an accuracy issue. But I'm going to test it real quick to see how that's going to go. So I'm going to make these real slow. And then I'll do a speed up. Oh look, that hand is flipping. I said that we couldn't see it before, but that hand is flipping. Alright. Yeah, 1/1000. So the rate scale is not being affected at all. Like, he does do slow, but the timer that checks that internally over here, so that's being checked on here for update animation. Where are you? Yeah, update current state. Oh, I did modify this as well since the last time you saw it. So yeah, I get the time, the playback length of this. So I guess I could put in I could get the rate scale and then do a modification of that in there to make sure the timing works out, but that's just one extra consideration. So like if you want to speed your animations up, you're better off doing it in whatever application you're using for animating. So I'm using Maya, so I would go speed it up in Maya. But I'm going to do a 2 in speed here. And see if that's fast enough. The delay is still going to be at 1, so. But yeah, I think that's plenty quick. I'm just still stuck for that second. Huh. So I'll set these back to default. The helicopter hand is hilarious. It's like, alright, so we'll jump back into here. To do a jump, what I would normally do is take the crouch. So I do my crouch and then I do my jump, because most of the jump is going to be off of the crouch. Actually, I have 2 jumps though. I have jump while standing. Technically, there's jump while standing, jump while walking, jump while running or dashing, and jump while crouched. Those are all different things, but we'll do jump while crouched. So let's do this. We'll save as. This will be jump. Yeah, so I'm going to do this one as crouch to jump. There we go. Then I can start off at 1. Because really at any point along here, I can take like these 2 frames, remove the middle frames, and then go into the launch of this. The speed of this is going to be a bit different. And then, of course, him landing, the landing is really from here to there on the impact, and then him standing back up. So I can really reuse a lot of this for this animation. I'm just thinking about where I want to start, what I want to cut. Clearing my thread every 3 seconds is annoying. I guess I should see what chat's doing. Last time I checked, there wasn't really anything going on. It's weird. Like if I jump in on mine while it's running, and I'm in the lame duck profile, I don't see chat. But if I do it under this one, then I do see chat. So it's bizarre. So, how's it going, folks? If I haven't said hey to you yet, welcome, welcome. It is Labor Day. Enjoy. Or is it Labor Day or is it Memorial Day? Labor Day? Okay. I'll take it. Whichever one. I always forget what days those are. Alright, so if I want to do the jump from crouch, then I need to start from I don't know. I don't know where I want to start. So I'll probably start from fully down, so I can cut these off, and then have the launch at some point, and then we gotta get the landing. So I'm going to get the animation graph editor here, because we need to move a bunch of these over. So I'm going to grab the FK skeleton and all of its stuff. Let me see if I can do a full-on copy and paste after here. So I'm going to go to frame 13 and then try pasting that. Looks like I was successful at pasting. Sometimes when you do that it breaks really bad, so. But it looks like all those got pasted. Let's try taking a peek. That would be from where to where. That ends on frame 24. So 24. I'll open that up. Assuming everything went well and he's not flipping inside out, after 12 I should be back to here, so these should be identical, and then I should get this repeat. Very nice. I'm going to do the same thing with the IK skeleton. So select the members of the IK skeleton, and then I will do the same thing. So some of the repeats that I have over here just happen to be that some members of the IK selection are the same as the FK selection. So like the face and those are going to be already already in place at these locations. So I should be okay to do a copy and then paste from here and then over here to there. Okay. So the reason why I want this over here is so I can use it for later. Things that I don't need, I can strip off. So I'm going to start in the crouched position. So yeah, I'll get the selection for this. I don't need anything before frame 6, so I can just go up to here, go up to before frame 6, and then do a cut. And then I can just move everything forward, really. But nothing here really matters. And then from here, we're going to go into the up state. So I'm going to remove everything from 6 to about 12. So after, here's frame 12, let me get all that is before that. Cut that out. And then here. So somewhere after the jump, probably about 2 frames out, I want him to be like this. So I'm doing all of the FK stuff first. It just works out a lot better. Maybe maybe frame 9. So when you're doing a jump, going from, maybe back that up. The tricky thing about doing a jump is you want to have a good blend between the input from the player to the reaction of the character. So if I'm playing Metroid and I hit the jump button, jumping is instantaneous, right? If I'm playing Castlevania and I hit the jump button, jumping is instantaneous. Trying to think of games where jumping is not so instantaneous, where you hit the jump button and then the character goes into a full-on animation before he gets off the ground. That annoys players. So you want to have the up portion happen almost immediately. So this whole section, when are meatballs? Meatballs are happening. I'm guessing meatballs are happening 5:30 or 6-ish, question mark. I was figuring we would do some gaming before then, period. And then have dinner, and then do StarCraft, period. Okay. So yeah, so getting from the action to the result, you want to check. So from here to the jump, this portion can be a bit slower. If there's a wind up for the jump, so for example, let's say I have to go from standing to crouching, and then I get my jump. That's a bit slower, so you want to make sure that this action happens faster. And we'll take a look at that when I start doing this portion of the animation to the jump. But anyway, right around frame 8 or 9. Basically, I want to put him in the position he's going to be in for when he's actually in the jump. So, hands up. And really, at this point, I think I might want to square him off. Well, maybe not. I might keep him angled. It's just harder to keep him angled. I really should do an adjustment on the shoulders as well. This arm. And then what else? He's going to be straightening out, so he's going to be up. So let's straighten out the angle on the back. Maybe I'll bend back a little bit. This leg, let's pop the leg back. We'll get this knee pretty much out. And then ankle down. Same thing here. This leg is going to be out. Whoops. I grabbed the thigh and not the controller. These don't have to be perfect. Again, he's at a slight angle, so having these angled is fine. If you want to capture this using motion capture, you're more than welcome to. Okay, so I think that's probably good. And again, I might straighten out the posture. It just seems being at an angle is probably okay. Now I'm letting the feet fall through the floor because the character is going to be in the air when a lot of this is happening. So from here, and actually let me get all the FK controls and just hit that. So from here, he's going to be boom. Just want a quick and then on the landing, we don't want that. You actually want the reverse of this. As far as the hips go, I'm going to put the hips at 0 height. So he should be back to default by time he is. Yeah, so that should be so at his default height would be here. And then I want to return to the crouching state. So from here, I want to copy this position. Let me see if I can get away with that. I'm going to grab all of those, grab them, and I will overwrite them here. Whoops. Let's see if he's inside out. Okay, looks like I got there and then coming back down. And then from landing, this is where I'm going to start blending into this animation. So I'm not going to go back here immediately. I'm not going here anymore. I want to try to get from the crouching position, so starting at 19 going back up. So 13 to 18 I can cut. So I'm going to jump over here. Whoops. Why are you being a jerk? Ugh. There we go. So 18 to 13, so yeah. So this all can get cut. I'll do something for the impact here. And then once we're down, eventually he's going to go back to here. He like glides up and then does that. So I'm going to move 19 and 24 all the way over to 13. Because that'll be the next step, right? So we're down, and then we should be transitioning up. So I'll get all of these, make sure I'm not missing anything. And I want to move those to 13. So I'll move the tick mark, and then I'll just move this. And then I will move the whole thing. Actually, I won't move the whole thing just yet. I will not move the whole thing just yet. Because I still have the IK version of this that I have to match. So I might be, actually I might just match it and be fine. Just nuke it and match it. So up, down, and then standing. Yeah, and now I'm going to pull that back to frame 1, so we'll get all this. Make sure I haven't lost any of my controls. I still have them all, okay. Well, I'll move this tick mark back to frame 1. I like to have this guy as my guide, because I can see that yellow. This gray on gray, I don't always see it very well, so line that up to there. And this jump you can see is pretty good. Now there's something in the middle here that I have to do that I actually just kind of overlooked. So we have from the ground position to the jump position, so that's your jump start. But then you need to have your idle, like when you're falling, your falling animation. So you have a recovery after this, that you're kind of like hanging out in the air in your falling animation, and then you have when you land, which is going to be the impact and recoil. So I'm actually going to move 7 and 13 out a bit because I still have to build that. So let me go over to 7, and I'll grab those, and I'll move them out. I'll just move this back out to 24. It's fine. It's not that big of a deal yet, because I have to come back for that. Alright, so here, so I'm in the air. I'm going to copy this position and go over a handful, maybe to 12. Let's see. And copy this. And I'm going to go over to frame 12, and I will paste that in. So there should be nothing happening from here to there. His fingers wiggle, but outside of that, we're okay. So 7 will be my middle, which means I'll move 12 back to one spot. I'll move up to 11. You okay? Hold on. I heard dishes dropping. You okay?
As long as it's not this, then we're good. We were gonna replace all the plate. Yep.
So the orange plate has died. Poor, poor orange plate. The one, the only. It is no longer there. Alright, so we got those. So here we are in the middle. And this is going to be the recovery. So basically he's going to go back to his idle position. So I'm going to get... Actually, I'll just manually. So I'll rotate these back down. By the way, there is a rotation order you should pay attention to. You want your... anything for the arm to rotate up or down, you want to handle those first, and anything that gets the arm to rotate inward, you want to do those second, and anything for the arm to twist, you would do that like third. Just kind of consider that, otherwise you'll get like helicopter arm, and it's annoying. So I'm going to rotate this down. And I'll get this one down. And let's get him kind of, sort of, a little bent, because he's going to be recoiling some. Oh, that's messy. There we go. And then the legs will come up a little bit. both of these sort of in there. This arm is kind of out twisted, so I'm going to bring that in. This one can be out more from the body. Alright, so this will be sort of the recovery position. So I'll get that. I'm going to hit S to kind of key that. So from here to here, you can see how they kind of went out, the arms. They didn't go straight down, so I'm gonna I have to go back and look at the rotations for those. So to here, and then I can move 11 out and use. Actually, I'll replace 11 with 7. So 7 is here. Let me get that. And I'll go back to there, and then boop. Because this is going to be the actual idle while he's falling. Now I need to go one more frame out. So for the idle falling animation, I want there to be about a second worth of falling, and I'm doing this at most of the animations I'm handling at 60 frames per second, so I may do a full 60 FPS. What did I do for idle? Let me go ahead and open that up and take a peek here. Left idle, I think I did at 60. Yeah, 60 frames. Even though this is rendered at 24 FPS, I did 60 frames. So I will probably get away with that as well. Oh. This is in the wrong location. Let me cut that. That goes here. Seriously? That should not be here. That should be here. Okay. Alright, so let me reselect these. I need to cram 60 frames in between frame 7 and frame 11. So what do I need here? What do I have total? I've got 24. Currently, I want to add 60 to it, so 84. Then can I squeeze the 60 in there? Then where do I want to go for... I'm at 7 and I want to go 60 out, right? So if I go over to 67, that should be 60 frames, I think. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so I grab this frame and pull it over. I mean, realistically, 24 frames is probably more than plenty. So where's my middle? Because normally it would be at 30. I think 37. Alright, well, whoops. Key that there, and then we'll do any jitters or whatever that he might have. So while he's falling, maybe he adjusts a little bit. We'll go out farther on the arms here, out farther on that arm. Maybe a slight out on the leg. So let's get 7 to 67 here. See how those are running. Alright, so where are the hand positions? So hands here, they open to... Let's get you and you. I see. The hands do something weird at 12. There's nothing at 7. So let's key those at 7. And... whatever they are at 7, we will copy that and put them at 67. Get rid of this 12 and 60 frame. They're at 3.2, it looks like. $37. kind of think at this point, though, they should be in an open position, so maybe 3.1 and then close to like a 4.2 and then a 3.1. There we go. That's weird. That tells me that the tangent is bizarre. So, yep. Look at the tangents for the hands. Why? Why would this be a thing? Let me get these. There we go. So his falling idle. I think we're good there. Let's go back to frame 1. We'll expand that out. So we have up. And then the arms kind of go wide for some weird reason, because rotation orders are a thing. And then we're here. And there. What is on 6? Oh, I see the hands are on 6. So from here, probably actually take the hands closer to fists. Yeah. So whatever the hands are, let's make them like 6. I don't need that one. Okay, so then we get to there. We get to here. And what was it? We go to 86. '84 is where it ends. Alright, and then after there, we need to have the impact back on the ground. So, probably immediately, I would just do feet in contact on the ground and then come back down. And then helicopter arms are doing their thing. So the height of him lower, yeah, and then let's take the feet. What is 0 position for the foot here? How about this one? I'll leave those as they are. I'll use IK to match position, I think, for that. Well, maybe not. Let me go back into side view. We'll put him closer to the ground. Trying to avoid being lazy. Give or take. Alright, so that's on the ground, and then he's going to have a pretty quick impact. So let's get position 1 here. Get that good and copied. We're going to go to uh, 68. Maybe make sure I hit the S key. And then right about 70, I think, will be impacted. So here we go. But this is going to be farther down, so I need to fix. That's something we'll have to do in IK. But basically, he's going to be lower. On the recoil here. This arm is going to be forward some. This elbow will be forward some. want to move the hand out of the thigh, but I'm avoiding the wrist just because my wrist matching is broken. But this hand really should be out of the thigh here. And I'll move these down to like 74. Gets me 80 frames. It's always a good idea to save often, because if you get any sort of gimbal lock or any kind of return to zero, kind of dividing by zero kind of action, because Maya behind the scenes is trying to interpolate all the positions between your specific joint orientation order, its local space, its world space, and all the little things in between. It's trying to keep all those things in check. And sometimes you get some weird errors. So those errors can sometimes just crash it. I don't mind the arms crossing in front so much, because as you go to do a jump, you might pull your arms closer, so I'm not too worried about that. From this side, we're not going to really tell. But it's this outward roll of the arms that it bothers me. So what I can do here on the arms, here and here, I'll grab both of these guys between frames 4 and 6. You can see we have this weird thing happening. Looks like those. Let me do a curves here. Let's do Euler filter. That may have been too much. No, make them linear. No. Let me run the Euler filter again. Euler filter and see what happens. So that's a lot cleaner here. Although there is a bit of a weird thing over there. before running it, let me get all of the things. I think that's pretty good, actually. Alright, so then what I'm going to need to do is go to IK. Actually, let me get FK just in case and just make sure I hit S on these things here. Alright. You get this, I'll flip it to IK. And we want to match IK to FK. Okay, good. What's the next frame? I've got 4 and 7. Frame 4. And then frame 7. Then we did 7 to 37. And then we have to 67. And then 68, if I recall. Hold up. Just need to make sure I'm not weird on here. The only ones I don't want selected are the hands. Alright, I guess it's gonna be what it's gonna be. Seven I got matched. Let me go ahead and just clear all of the IK. Remember that I didn't match it earlier. So main control through Yeah. $37. That's so annoying. We got this one, that one. Being sick is for the birds. And I'm just matching these in case I need them. Okay. So this keeps the feet planted until push off. Here doesn't really matter, but then here I want the feet to be planted. Stay in position so they don't go through the floor. And then we can get those. Those are weird. Why are you off the ground? Alright, so I'm going to get all these again. Alright, so the advantage of doing it that way is for the legs, like the feet in the beginning, those can be planted. In the middle doesn't matter, and then at the end, when I hit the ground, the feet will remain planted. So that part should be good. Alright, so we can switch back to FK. So with the FK setup, what I want to do is frame 1, let's make sure we're in FK. In the beginning, I'm not so worried about coming out of the ground. but on the landing I do care. So here, let's do FK to IK match. And I'm going to do this entire row here. Okay. So now I should be able to get the jump from crouch. And then I can modify the jump from standing if I need to. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll export this, make sure did I save it already? Okay. I'll get my skeleton, and we are going to bake the animation. So bake. Alright. So on the bake, I need 1 to 7. So 1 to 7. File, export selection. This is gonna be crouch. Crouch, jump. We're facing the left. So crouch, jump, left. Alright, and then I'm going to go to 7 to 67. No, I need more than that. That's the falling. No, I'm good. That's correct. So 7 to 67. This should be the falling. I might just drop the last frame though. Let's do 66. Alright. So 7 to 66. A lot of times on a looping animation you drop the last frame because the first and last frame are the same. So you actually get a millisecond of a longer pause when those two frames overlap than the rest of the animation. So if you drop the last one, it smooths out. Okay, so this is going to be crouch, jump, wherever crouch is. There we go. Crouch, jump. This is... shouldn't matter what jump I'm in. So all of the jumps will have the same fall, so this will be falling left. And then from 67 to 80. Should I drop this frame? I might keep this frame. We'll see. This is going to be landing. Let's see. Landing heavy. Because on jumps that aren't as high, it'll be a softer landing. Okay, let's hook this up and see how it looks. I can do the in-betweens later. Actually, cancel. I don't want to save. Don't save that. Let's go back to this one. Just want to make sure I didn't... Yeah, okay. Successfully canceled. I don't want to bake the animation permanently. I wanted to have it baked only for the export. Alright, let's get these in here. Exported. Crouch, jump left, and then we want the falling left, and we want the landing heavy left. Import all. And then for falling, where's falling? Make sure that's checked to be looped. There we go. Jump into here, we can close that. Alright, so do I have the... Here's falling. Where is jump? Do I have jump? Let's go to change state. We'll get the idle state. Actually, let's do it from the crouching, because the crouching has the blending back to idle. There we go. Let's get that. Pop that in here, change this to What order do I have these in? Not that it matters. Okay, I'm toward the end. So jumping, falling, I need landing. So this is going to be how do I want to do it? I could have the jumping state figure out which jumping needs to be executed. No. I'll just have this separated. So, jumping, falling, landing, and then crouch jump, just thinking about when I want these to execute. Just like with landing, landing would be determined the speed or the height. Yeah, so I don't know how I want to separate these. I guess I'll do landing. So this can be crouch, jump. This animation is called what? Crouch, jump, left. And since I don't have the right version of this yet, I will return out of the right side. So I may confuse myself and not be able to jump if I'm facing left, or facing to the right, but just yell at me on the thing. Be like, hey, dum-dum, you forgot that. Like, oh, yeah. Okay. So from crouch jump, the transition state will be falling. And changing direction, I don't need to do that. Timer, and then that. And then from there, do I have a falling state? I do have a falling state, okay. Let me get all this stuff. And then we will go into falling. Yes, so falling should have the falling movement mode. So cut that and I'll replace it with this. This thing is called falling left. So Selden falling left. Why were these backwards? Oh, okay. Because the turning animation does flip to the right if it's on the left, and vice versa. This is going to be the montage. And again, I need to return out of that because I don't have it yet. Okay. So falling is going to be looping. Oh, I got double break. So falling will be looping, so yes. The transition state, there is no transition state from here. So I do not need a transition state on this one. And then landing. I have to do the landing heavy. So let me get walking stop, that'll work. Hey, welcome to the stream. Yeah. Landing heavy. That should put us back in the walking state. What did I call this? Landing heavy left. And that'll get the montage. And I am returning out because I don't have that one yet. So after the landing is done, we should transition back to idle. This does not loop, no direction change, and that's fine. Okay. So let's see how we get there. We're going to get here from the controller. So right now hitting jump does put us into jumping. So that's fine. We need to transition to crouch and uncrouch. I'm just thinking how I want to fire this off, because this is one of the few rare exceptions to the rule that I could probably do this directly from the key and not have to worry about inconsistencies and weird overlaps. Because the jump event happens directly off the key, but I need to check what state I'm currently in, so I might as well do it here. Alright, so let's do crouch and jump. So what do I need to know? I need to know the player state. I need to know if we are currently crouching. So if E states crouching is true, and if we are in the crouching state, I don't have a... Maybe I do. The jump button is pressed, so let's see what am I using for jump button. Jump started, jump completed. Do I have a jump? Let's go to the top. So I've got an IA for up, down, and tap. Looks like I don't have them built for the jump button yet. I'm just thinking if I should move these, leave them there. Does it matter? Will I have any interference? What if I want to double jump? And that sort of stuff. Although I don't think Selden can double jump I don't think I ever had that planned. He can wall jump. That's a thing, but double jumping is no. Pretty sure I don't double jump. He doesn't have a double jump because he has the high jump. Hey, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I need to create the action input booleans for these because I need to check this against a few other things because he has a few other abilities off of the jump button that I have to run this through. Alright, so we go into here and get that started. Okay, so down, 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 down held, down pressed, and then up. So we'll get these. I think those are all them in the correct order. Right, so up tap time, down tap time, tap count, yeah, all those, okay. Alright, and this is going to be swapped. Let's do a replace with jump. Replace next, yes. Okay. Let's move all these back. These will work just fine, it's just about hierarchy order. The tabbing in just shows this controls this. And this only runs one line. Even if you throw braces on it, it only runs one line. Okay. So on started, I need to get BIA jump pressed is true. We also need to check the held time, so I'll just do that here. Jump, pressed, pulse, come on you, jump held. Then I need to also check the tap counts. So let's go grab that off of anywhere else. Yeah, so pressed and held, and then tap count. Tap count happens off of started, so we'll get that here. And then I have nothing being checked for ongoing, so I don't have to worry about that. But I do need to check the hold time, so that has to happen down here. So that's being checked. I also need to check the tap count for that. And really, I could run these inside of this check input function. I think I might, just to keep that clean. I think I'm safe to remove these. Make sure we check all these before we do any of the other stuff. Okay. Alright, so if we are in the crouching state and DIA jump gets pressed. This is where we need to fire, I think. My issue with firing the jump action, not the animation, just the action, is there's jump and then there's stop jumping. And I want to make sure that those are happening on a single input. So I'll leave those as they are for now, and I'll just change the state. So player state. So we're going to be going from crouching to crouch jumping. So E states. Crouching, whoops, crouching jump, and then the facing direction will be the current player direction. Although currently, if I'm jumping, I will probably be able to override the jump animation by pushing forward or whatever not in the air. Now for the landing state, that does not happen on input. That happens on when he makes contact with the ground. So that's going to be handled differently. Oh. One hair escaped being shaved. Always one that escapes. I will get you. 27%. You are 27% of the way back? Question mark. Buddy of mine is telling me he's on his way back, but he's also downloading Battlefield 3. So he's probably telling me that the update is 27%, but he told me he was on his way back just a few minutes ago. So I don't know if he took the device with him or whatever. Alright, so how am I detecting when I hit the ground? Currently that's being handled in the jump state in the character controller. But how do I want to get it? Normally what I would do, if I were doing this on Blueprint, I would get the character controller and get its is falling Boolean. I would check it. And if the falling Boolean is false, then I would enter the landing state if I were in the jump state. I could check that here, but that's not an input. You know, I don't want that to be confused with other things. So up here, on tick, some things I should check. Technically should write a function for it. I don't know where I want to put this yet. I guess I'll pop it under here. And we'll just get this firing and I'll clean it up later. So I need the character movement component. So character get character movement from character movement is in air is falling. So alright, so if we're not falling, we should check the state that we're in. So if player state is E states I don't need to do player because I'm inside himself. So we'll get his state, and then whatever, if he's falling, we will transition out to landing. But I need to know how fast I'm falling. So for here, if get velocity falling is handled internally. I didn't set that up, so I have to consider how fast I'm falling. Let's see if I have I've got a flying speed, I've got a running speed. Yeah, I don't have a falling speed. So I'll have to grab that off of trying to think how I did it before. In the previous version of this thing, how was I grabbing that? I didn't do it off of I might have done it off of falling height, but that would be tricky to manage. Being sick sucks. I can't just check what state I'm in, because if, let's say if I fall off of a ledge and it's a short ledge, then how he impacts the ground is different than if he falls off of a high ledge. So I can't just check what state he's in. So checking how fast he's moving is the simplest way. But I don't really know how fast he's going to be moving. I assume it's some nearest equivalent of 9.8. It's either 9.8 or 0.98. Whatever way they fraction that out. let's see if I can just grab... So, get velocity. It just gets the vector for there. Can I break that? Awesome! Exclamation point. Let me know when you're ready to go. Period. Alright, so I get the z velocity for this. I get... Do I have the option to grab z? Yes. I'm going to put in greater than or equal to some arbitrary number. Actually, I'll do if it's less than 100, then we'll do something. So do normal. I don't have anything to give it yet. Else, if it's greater than 100, then we're going to go ahead and do change state. And this is going to change to... Oh, it's just mad because there's nothing actually happening here. So now we want to transition to landing heavy. So E states landing heavy, and the direction is his current direction. I don't have a way of watching this value though. So testing this is not going to be nice. Alright, let's see what happens. At the very least, I should be able to get to the jump state. So I've noticed that the hang-up with this running is when OBS is recording. But I think expanding my RAM will be the world of difference. I think I got all the things where they need to be. I thought you said it was downloaded, period. Alright, let me grab... Well, let's just test it. There we go. I don't land, though, because that's not a thing. And I can't jump out of this one, out of this position. What it's not doing is overriding. So I'm holding down, and I jump. He tries to enter the jump state, but then he gets forced back to the down. So what I need to do is tell it that and there he's in the falling state, which is good. But I need to tell it to override that. So which way should I go about doing that? Controller. I'm gonna have to find a nicer way, I think, but let's do, and we are not currently pressing the jump button. Alright. I can still crouch in the air if I want to. Now I cannot crouch in the air if I'm holding jump. And I can come back out of that. Whee! Of course, I shouldn't be able to enter the jumping state repeatedly. So I'm going to have to go ahead and set up a rule for that. And of course I can't jump this way. I got locked into the state. That's hilarious. Alright. But, anywho, I think it's enough time for a day. I'm gonna enjoy, what is this, Memorial Day or Labor Day? It's one of those 2 days. So, well, I'm gonna go enjoy whatever whatever is left of that particular holiday. And appreciate you guys hanging out with me for a bit. I'll see you next time.